Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to our series of webinars where we'll be focusing on new products and solutions. Today we'll be looking at one of our smart solutions, the Smart Document Extract solution. In terms of introductions, I'm Faye O'Connell. I'm Embridge's product manager, and leading you through the webinar today is Tiago Bruno, who is our technical developer. Embridge Consulting was founded in 2009 and are a leading certified Unit4 partner, providing a variety of end-to-end services. We provide a broad range of services ranging from ERP selection right through to managed ERP support services. Other services that we offer relate to training, e-learning, project management, development, and of course our smart solutions that we'll be talking about today. Our smart solutions are pre-configured customizations which provide customers with an opportunity to resolve minor and strategic issues within the organisation and get the Unit4 application working smarter for them. So today we'll be talking about one of our smart solutions, the Smart Document Extractor. In terms of an agenda, we'll be going through an overview of the solution, talking a little bit about the benefits that the solution can deliver. We'd like to give you some background to its development journey so far, and then move on to providing a demonstration of the product, which Tiago will be leading, focusing on 3 disparate areas. We'd also going to be signposting other examples where we believe that the solution could be used to deliver some real benefits to you. And then talk a little bit about the plans for its further development, so the roadmap for the product. At the end of the webinar, we'll be holding a Q&A, but please feel free to use the chat function to raise any questions that you have. We'll collate them, and if we can't answer them all in the Q&A, we'll pick them up towards the end of the session or a follow-up email. So I'm going to hand over to Tiago now, and I'm going to ask him to walk you through the Smart Document Extractor.
Okay, thank you, Faye. Okay, so let's pass the slide. Okay, so let's quickly extract archive documents from Unit4 Business World based upon a browser inquiry. So this is what the Smart Document Extract is. So as an overview, so Unit4 has a document archive facility to store documents so that we can associate, files and documents within our transactions, being master or transactional records. So document archive works based on document types, which we associate, or they have the group of documents that are stored, in which the document types. So we have a definition of how the document should be associated. If it's a resource master file, if it is a project master file, or even if it's a GL transaction. So the document type specifies what the document is going to be attached to, and then we have indexes which end up associating those documents because so we're uniquely identifying those files and the documents on the database. We know that it can be really time-consuming extracting large sets of documents, mostly because they are uploaded and they are set based on those individual indexes, based on these individual records. Meaning that if you end up having a large set of data which you have to analyze, if you have to download the individual files from that data set, you have to go for each individual transaction. So if we end up having a list of customers or a list of suppliers, and if you have to download the document archive associated with those suppliers, you have to open the supplier master file to open that specific supplier and then download that specific document. So that's where the document extract comes in hand. So it helps customers to quickly extract specified documents into the data export folder. So the extraction is based on a browser report, so that the users specify the data and then specify within the browser, in this case, the indexes that the document type needs to have, and then associating the browsers to the document types, and that's where where it comes in hand. So you have a browser, and you can loop through all the rows of that browser and then download everything on it. So it's ideally for if you go from a situation on a support audit, if you think that, so actually this is where this idea ended up coming from a specific customer, in which based on auditing the GL, the general ledger transactions, the auditors end up coming in and say, okay, I want to take a look at your figures, your data. Okay, you do have a really cool browser that ends up showing me all the information that I need and all the information that we, from the point of view, the data set that we need. But now I need to see the documents associated and the documents that support this specific transaction. And then the user will have to go to individual transactions, go to general ledger transactions, and then kind of download the information individually. So this is where ends up coming handy. So we can extract from two endpoints. So this ends up being a customization that ends up working on on Business World on the desktop and on the web. So this ends up being an extra button. How you're going to see, it's going to be an extra button that's going to sit on the browser, in which then after you have the browser, you have pressed the button, so it can be on these two endpoints, on web or on desktop. The benefits end up being, we quickly extract documents associated with those transactions. We can search and extract based on several indexes, so you can support, compliant activity. So mostly within the same browser, you can have the browser associated with several document types and several indexes, meaning that if the transaction there is registered, end up having document types that come from different perspectives. If you think a browser that can have, invoices which we generated, and then payments for those invoices, so we can have the document types, for different document types on the same browser. On the development journey, so this product is currently on an early adoption program. So this is something that we have on Embridge that helps mature our products. So we have a program in some of our products, which then we invite some customers to come in. They end up, the program is something that is defined to help the product to get mature. So they enroll and they help us to shape and to mature it. And based upon the current program, this should be Unit4 Cloud approved and compatible with M6 and M7 mostly by the end of this year, so that we should have the product ready for a version 1, so it can be released to the bigger audience. So mostly to set up a solution, we have we end up doing this in 3 steps. We identify our areas where you need to apply the solution, or where this function is going to work. You end up creating your queries, your browser queries, and then you include the relevant document indexes that you need within your browser. So if your indexes need a customer ID and transaction number and the client, so that those browsers would have to have those indexes, and then that browser is going to be associated on system setup files, is going to be associated to one or more document types, so that if that transaction is relevant but it has information from different document types, then we're going to bring all that into that export folder exporting. So right now we're going to do a really quick demonstration on the web. So I'm just going to open my local Business World, and I'm going to type my username and password. So who's aware of the Business World and how browsers end up working? This ends up being really straightforward without going into a really technical analysis. We have some reports on the web. We have some browsers. I'm going to open a predefined browser, general ledger transactions, in which I end up having a set of information. So this is just a general browser. It has a specific criteria. In this case, I have the company and I have a period, and I have all my information specifically for this specific set of general ledger transactions. Now I'm going to select a couple of records so that we can see that this specific record on my general transaction has a document associated with this. So this could be like an invoice. So this should be the transaction with some documents associated with it. I'm just going to open another one, and yeah, this one has another document, and I have another transaction in here that doesn't have any documents. So what the solution is going to do is going to loop through every individual row and see if there's any document associated with it and extract it. Now this is done with this document export button we have down in the bottom. So I'm going to press on it, and that's when the magic's going to happen, and it's going to tell me that the scheduled report ran based on this report, and it gives me this order number 77. So the user, after running this, can go to the order of maintenance of order reports, and there's a log associated with it, in which, so this is the 77. So I'm going to open the log, and mostly for the bug purposes, but also to understand a little bit more where things end up. So the log is going to show us that, okay, the documents were extracted to the data export folder, and then every single file that gets exported has some information saying, okay, the file was successfully exported. So this is more for debugging purposes, but there's a really, really important information. I have the original name of the file. I have the doc ID, so the document ID information where the file gets stored on the document archive, and then the index is associated with this. So we end up having this for all the files. Now, this ends up going on my data export folder. So I'm going to open my local business world, and I'm going to drive all the way to my data export folder, going to my business world installation, data files, demo M6, data export folder. So we end up having some information which is on the doc export 77. So it created a folder and extracted all those files into the data export folder. Now, since the early adoption program that was created has been shaped with some requirements and some flavors, one of the things which was requested, which we think it was important, is to have on the file name a little bit more of information. So we cannot extract the files from their original name, because we can have different files stored in different places that might have the exact same name. So on the name of the file, so even we end up extracting the files themselves, but having some information of the file index, or the index information of this file, along with the original file name. So this is going to give us the original file name, and if we end up double clicking, we end up opening the file and showing what it is. In this case, I think it's just, yeah, so it's just that image, that logo image that we saw before. Now, this can be done at the transactional level, but I'm going to close this, and I'm going to just do a quick show on a master record level. So this is a browser as well. So this is just a browser with a lot of suppliers. Let's imagine that we have several suppliers, and we want to have a dump of everything that is on the supplier master file. So I'm going to press the document export. It's just going to go in there and extract everything. In this case, it went to the folder doc export number 78. So we already saw the log, so I'm just going to jump at the folder. Here you go. The folder was created. And then I have a dump of all the information from those different suppliers. So I can see in here all the files. So I kind of associated the names of the files with the supplier. So we have these three, information for this. The supplier 1010 has like these three files, one PDF, one Word document, and a text file. So I'm just going to go to the page number 3, try to identify this one in the list so that we can just check. Here we go. Supplier 1010 on the master file, and okay, so in the master file of this supplier, so I'm just going to open and see the document files. Here we go. So these are the 3 files that get extracted. So all the information for each supplier end up getting dumped in on this folder. So let me just show another simple example in case of resources. Mostly ends up being the same thing. So we have a list of master file records. In this case, our resources. So document export, go through all of them. I don't think it has that many. Okay, doc export number 75. Let's create the folder that should end on, 79. So here we go. So in this case, only one had information, so it should be like a contract for this specific resource. So mostly this is what document archive, so smart document extract, end up doing, is looking at the browser and then go through every single record. And then we need to have the indexes on the columns, and they will associate the browser to the doc types. And then what the document export magic does, it goes through every single record and identifies that based on the setup. If we have any documents, it just dumps the whole thing on the data export folder for later evaluation. I'm going to hand over now to Faye, so can continue. Yeah.
Yeah, we've just got a question. With regard to the solution, you've just showed transactions and a couple of master files. Is the solution available on other entities such as forms? If we had forms with documents attached to Business World Forms?
Yes, when I say master records and transactional records, it involves the two types of records that we mostly have on Business World. So in this case, if we have, in this case, we have forms. Forms end up being a transactional data because each form ends up being an attribute value. Actually, forms might be transaction master data because it's the individual transactions. So yeah, so so for each form that we end up creating on Business World, if we end up having a browser with all the instances of the form, so the individual forms, and then if we have the browser associated so we end up having that form with a document type associated with it in all the indexes. So we end up creating the browser, and then the browser will extract all the information from forms. So the concept ends up being the same, so it kind of does. So we can work. So we have now here other examples on other areas. So for instance, on accounts payable, transactional data. So we imagine we have a browser with, but we need to have all the invoices received from a supplier that we need to pay. So the money coming out. So you can have a browser with all these invoices, and then we not just have a list in the browser, but then we can have the dump of the actual documents that are stored. So we have for that accounts payable, and we can even have that for accounts receivable as well, like invoices generated from customers to receive. We already saw a list of approved suppliers with supporting documents that can be as well. On human resources, like appraisal forms, so that I think that's a question we had, like appraisal form for quality review, in which several subordinates from imagine them having this form, and then all the information from individual forms end up being in the browser, and then the associated documents. It can be all that, and master data from projects. We have a list of projects, and then we have all the information associated with it. Now, as in a roadmap, and because of this EAP, we end up having all the things that then end up being identified. Some already set for the enhancements. One of the things we're going to enhance is allow the users via the web to select the folder within which the documents will be extracted. So this solution right now, as you saw, dumps the information on the data export folder, meaning that either the user needs to have access, or there's going to have to be some support from IT to either give access or give the files that were extracted. And the second one is allow users to define per browser the folder structure for extract. So if you think of master file, if you think of a project master file, which you have the projects, but each project might have work orders. So you might want to set your own structure in which, okay, I don't want everything in the same folder. I want one folder per project, but then within each project, I want one folder per work order. So like defining the structure of the folder. So this is something that is coming in, and we're trying to shape the product